folks, Sean Broderick. I'm in Toronto, Canada. Why am I speaking whisper? I don't know. We're in a hushed hallway. That's what I feel like. I'm sneaking in and I'm finding things out. But anyway, this is Joe Puglise, and he is the COO of Medicine Man Technologies, which is, it's a fully integrated operator in the cannabis industry. And I should mention, I'm a shareholder. I've been a shareholder for quite some time. The stock's done well, but he's going to tell you what makes this company different and why it's going places. Joe, could you speak to my viewers?
I would be happy to. Thank you, Sean. So, yes, Medicine Man Technologies, and was started as a consulting company. It was based upon the IP that our co-founders, Andy Williams, who's now the CEO, and Brett Roper at the time, the other co-founder, IP from Andy's companies that he had been running for several years prior. And there was an understanding that there was going to be folks in this, burgeoning, growing cannabis industry that would pay for the knowledge and the intellectual property and all of the know-how and the wisdom that these guys had gained over the years. They figured there was a company there, and they started it. And the company, built from very humble roots, has been profitable for quite a while, as you can imagine. Didn't have the resources to go out and raise $50, $100 million and blow through that cash while they became experts in the cannabis space. They came from the other direction. They really bootstrapped the company. They were profitable because if they weren't going to be able to make payroll. And you're forced to be very clever, and you're forced to be very smart about how you run your business. And, certainly you have to provide a service of value to people that are in the space. And that's what they've done over the last 4 or 5 years. And like I said, from very humble beginnings, we just released the 10K for 2018, and the company did a little over $9 million in revenue and 2.2, I believe, in EBITDA, which is something. There aren't very many companies in the cannabis space, frankly, that are approaching or doing 10, I'd say maybe 8 figures, call it 10 million, 8 figures in revenue run rate, that are showing profits. And so this is one of those few companies. And sure.
I would just mention that you saw earnings grow 150% year over year, right?
Yeah, about
and you have revenues. I think revenues are growing about 400% year over year.
Well, it's funny. So revenues grew exclusively. They grew at a very big clip in 2018, and they grew through consulting sales and service sales. They grew through product sales, which I can talk a little bit about, and they grew through a licensing agreement that we did with a company called Canada House Wellness here in Canada. Where we licensed our IP for the entire country to them, and so those were really the driving factors behind the 3-digit revenue growth that we had this year. Now going into 2019, what's different, and this is what I'm sure what you guys are interested in, what's different about the company is that we've really begun a pivot, and that pivot really the essence of that, if you go back to the original S1 that the company filed when it went public 4 or 5 years ago, it talked about the laws in Colorado changing someday so that a public vehicle could own a cannabis company. And I think if you ask the folks who founded the company, would it take 4 or 5 years to get there, they'd probably say no, but it has. And House Bill 1090 is making its way through the Colorado legislature. We expect it to be in front of Governor Polis, the governor, within the next couple of weeks. We expect them to sign it, and that enables us to move forward with the acquisitions that we had announced earlier in January. One was MedFarm, and the other was Medicine Man Denver, also known as Future Vision. And to not get too technical, but we can close on the MedFarm portion really anytime. The Medicine Man Denver Future Vision portion, once the bill becomes law, there will be a review and a suitability period, which is really more than just an administrative piece, but it'll probably take about 5 months. And we're targeting right around November 1st to close on the license holder portion of those acquisitions. But once we do that, you'll have Medicine Man Technologies that's currently doing a $9-10 million revenue run rate. You add to that MedFarm, which is currently doing 3 in terms of revenue run rate. But we'll be doing right around 6 by the end of the year. And Medicine Man Denver, which did $17 million in revenue last year, should do around 24 or so this year. It added a 4th dispensary in Longmont, Colorado back in February. So you add the 25 and the 6 and the 10-ish, and you have a company that's doing a $40 to $50 million revenue run rate and profitable.
Right.
And again, unheard of in the cannabis space.
Right. So I just want to emphasize, you went from being a consulting company kind of to now being a fully integrated company where you do the growing, you do the distribution, you have dispensaries and like all that stuff. Plus you have technology as well, and so that's been a shift for the company. It's really opened up like more growth for you, right?
That's right. Look, it allows us to use the expertise that we've gained collectively over these years to more, to grow the revenues, to grow the business, and accelerate that growth. And the law now allows for that, but it's sort of a different approach than most of the folks in the cannabis space. You look at some of the larger, mainly Canadian-based companies run by very, very bright people, very well sourced and financed, who have really sort of burned through cash, if you will, learning the cannabis business. If you look at what Medicine Man Technologies has done, I mean, really, the company has been public for 5 years. In that time, it's raised all of $2 million, a little more than $2 million, which, as you guys know, in the cannabis space is almost nothing. Has a clean balance sheet, carries no debt. And so, it's really taken the opposite approach where they've become experts over time in the space. And now we're taking that pivot and we're moving into the operating space versus coming from the other end and then sort of kind of burning through cash as we learn to become experts in the space. You can get there both ways. But I really admire the way that this company's been built. I just joined last year, so I'm newer to the fold. But the way this company has been built over the years is the way your grandmother would tell you to build a company. Build it smartly, build it thoughtfully. Don't take on debt. Don't get out over your skis. Make sure you can make payroll. Make sure you're doing things in a conservative fashion, and that's what they've done. So I give them a lot of credit because we now hold a platform that's going to enable us to take advantage of all of the combined expertise that the company has, but we can now take advantage of the law changing in Colorado. We're starting with the acquisitions, as we announced in January, of Medicine Man Denver and MedFarm, but we'll have other acquisitions, within the state of Delaware that will add dispensaries and cultivation and add scale. And so we think over time we can grow this company. Provided we see the bill get signed into law over the coming weeks, we think we can scale up from 40 to 50 million in revenue run rate to twice that, if not more than that, within the next 12 months. And I think we can do it profitably. And so to get to a point where conceivably you have a company that's doing over $100 million in revenue from a run rate perspective and is profitable, if you search all the big and small boards, you're not going to find a company out there like that. And so, that's the plan. And we talk all the time about sort of keeping our head down and let's keep hitting singles. Let's not get crazy. Let's just keep executing our game plan. But, as the law changes in our favor, both in, locally in Colorado as well as nationally, I'm sure, you guys are aware, Safe Banking Act has been, reintroduced and the States Act has been reintroduced, and it remains to be seen how it plays out. But again, folks ask me about the cannabis space, and and you look at the acceptance of it, both from a medicinal and a recreational standpoint. It's a tsunami wave. I don't think any of us can say exactly when it's going to land, but we know it's going to land. Mm-hmm. And so you want to be prepared for it. You want to take advantage of it. And those are the things that we're focused on and that we're particularly excited about at the company.
Right. Well, I know you have operations in 18 states, which gives you more of a footprint than many of these other companies, so that as good things happen elsewhere, you can branch out and do that kind of thing. Many cannabis leverage companies have great growth. This is one that has great growth, and it makes money. And so it's growing its revenue and it's making money at the same time, which does make it a rare bird, I can tell you that much. And so if my subscribers watch your stock, say, over the course of the next year, what news flow will they see? What new things will be happening?
Sure. Look, I think there's going to be a handful of, let's call them key instigators for the stock. I think if and when the governor signs House Bill 1090 into law over the coming 2 to 3 weeks, let's call it, which is our expectation, I think that's an instigator for the stock. I think when we close on MedFarm, which we expect to do, maybe end of May, at this point very likely June, I think that'll be an instigator. I think you're going to continue to see announcements over the course of the summer. We're going to look to be prepared for this law 1090 to be in effect by November 1st, but we're not going to sit on our hands and wait. We're going to look to have definitive signed agreements with other operators, many of whom are based in Colorado, who we've known over the last 10, 12, 15 years, that will come into business with us. They know that we have the public company vehicle for it. They, unlike the folks that are most of the folks that are from Canada or MSOs from out of state, they know Andy, they know the company, they know the name Medicine Man and Medicine Man Technologies. We've had casual conversations with them dating back years, like I said. And so I think what we're going to do is, as we have those definitive agreements signed, we'll announce them over the course of the summer, even though we likely won't be able to close until, let's say, as early as November 1st, and it could go possibly until, let's say, February or so of next year, depending upon sort of the administration piece of it. But, I think we're just moving as quickly and as thoughtfully as we can to take advantage of this opportunity that we knew would come at some point. We didn't know if it was going to come in 2016. We didn't know if it was going to come in 2018. It looks like, knock on wood, it's going to come in 2019. And I think we're very well positioned for it.
Yeah. So we know the laws are changing. This is a company that is poised to take advantage of it, and it's not waiting. It's already building the national network that it needs for that big change to come. It is taking advantage of laws that already are changing, and it's in place to take advantage of things that will happen in the future. The symbol is MDCL on the OTCQX. I am a shareholder. I mentioned that, but I'm a shareholder for a very good reason. And so I am definitely going to be watching this company, and you should too going forward, for what I think will be more great things to come. Is there anything you'd like to add before we go?
No, thank you. Other than to say thank you very much. Appreciate the time.
Great. You folks stay tuned. I will have more for you from the Benzinga Cannabis Conference in Toronto. It's a great show, and I can't wait.